What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We are super pumped to be back, but me and Phoenix literally had to take some time off just because of how special UFC 300 was, and it is safe to say that I am emotionally drained.
Emotionally, physically, every part of drain that you could ever be, UFC 300 has made us. From the very first fight of the night, you were on your seat, on edge, not knowing what's going to happen, because what Dana White did so magnificently for this card is you put two fighters together in a fight that you had no idea what was going to happen.
We had 12 former champions on that card. What does that say?
Not to mention 300K bonuses. Oh, me and Priest were there at the press conference, and when he said that, the place erupted. We erupted because we were like, oh my God, these fights are going to be insane, and they were insane. But today we are going to do a little special video because UFC 300 gave us some closure, but it opened up a whole new door of questions of fights to make. So me and Priest are going to be predicting and saying the top 3 fights that have to happen after UFC 300. And I know a lot of you guys are going to think that there's more fights that we could have made after. That is very true. But these are the biggest, most badass fights you can make after UFC 300. So Priest, give me your first fight. What fight has to happen?
Well, I got to pull out my Dana White, Sean Shelby, and Mick Maynard matchmaking ability because these are so tough. But me and Phoenix decided that we were going to be doing Kayla Harrison as the first one. Come on. She was the champion over at PFL, and she made the jump from 155 to 135. And it just messes up kind of what was going on in that division, because you got Raquel Pennington, who was fighting Juliana Pena. But a lot of people think Kayla Harrison gets the title shot, but no, I don't think so. She just fought Holly Holm. Yes, she was a former champion, but no.
Holly Holm is 40 years old.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So realistically, I believe the next opponent for Kayla Harrison will be, Irene Aldana. That is the fight to make. If you look at the division, yes, Pena's 1, Caitlin Vieira's 2, but Caitlin Vieira lost to Irene Aldana. So I believe Kayla Harrison and Irene Aldana is the fight to make, and the winner will fight the winner between Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena later this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard because you don't know this closure with Raquel Pennington. There's murmurs of she's hurt. You got Amanda Nunes making Instagram clips talking like maybe she'll come back. Maybe she'll come back. I think there's a ton of great fights for Kayla Harrison, but she's still got to prove herself. It's not like you got Aljo coming up from the bantamweight division, now in the featherweight division. Yes, now he can fight towards the top, maybe 1, 2, or 3 guys. But you got Kayla Harrison. Yes, she's an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, but she's got to prove herself in the UFC. She can't jump the line, and I think the UFC is going to do that with her. I think they're going to keep her based. It would be a lot of damage to her if they gave her a #1 contender fight. But I think Irene Aldana is a perfect fight because you have Irene, who's coming off a big win in December, a gutty decision win that she had to dig deep for. And you got Kayla Harrison, who's off this big high of UFC 300. So I love that fight. I think that's a great fight. I think stylistically, it could go either way. Exactly. Will Irene have the advantage on the feet, or is Kayla Harrison game to throw down? Those are some questions that are going to be answered, but that's a great pick on that first fight.
Yeah, and it depends if she gets the Dana White privilege, because we saw Michael Chandler get that, but I don't think in this case she might not get it.
But I think the difference is that Michael Chandler went through the ringer of the 155-pound division in Bellator.
Knocked out Dan Hooker
in his debut. So there's a lot of different things that you could do with Kayla Harrison. But I agree. I like the Irene fight. I like him for both girls because if Irene wins, she's right back in the title shot. If Kayla Harrison wins, she could be right there at a title shot too, so good pick. But it's time to move on to the second fight that has to happen in one of the most insane, exhilarating fights that I have ever witnessed in person, on TV, anything. And that was Max Holloway's win over Justin Gaethje. My goodness. It was an insane fight. I mean, from the first bell to the last bell to the knockout, everything throughout that fight was an emotional roller coaster. But now there's a lot of questions now.
It is.
Max Holloway more than likely had a title shot at 145 before this fight. Like I said, Justin Gaethje had a title shot at 155 coming into this fight. This fight happened, shouldn't have happened, but gave us one of the greatest knockouts of all time. But Max Holloway, what do you do with him? Do you send him to 145 to fight Ilya later this year? Does Max Holloway stay at 155 and fight Islam after Poirier? Those are some of the questions that have to be answered. And I'm telling you right now, the biggest fight you could make right now for Max Holloway is him versus Islam this December. Book it right now. I don't care. Ilia Topuria had an amazing knockout against Volk. Ilia Topuria is a star. Ilia Topuria probably could sell out a soccer stadium in Spain. But the biggest fight for the UFC to make is the Islam fight. Because not only was Max Holloway incredible at 155, he was smooth, he was fast, he was freaking powerful. Who knocks out Justin Gaethje like that? Out cold. And then you got Islam Makhachev, a world star. He is not just a star in the US. He's not just a star in Russia. He is a world mega star, and the followers talk for it. Islam Makhachev has 8.4 million followers, and Ilya only has 4. So you want to talk about a fight that sells is that fight, not only because of that, but because Max Holloway was scheduled to fight Khabib a couple years back. So not only can you market that fight that never happened, now you can market the 155 division, arguably the best division in the entire UFC. And not only that, put the BMF belt on the line to become a world champion and a BMF champion at the same time, whoever wins that fight.
Do you know what's crazy to say too is Max Holloway at 145 was phenomenal. Max Holloway at 155 is just unreal. Unreal. People forget Max Holloway took that Dustin Poirier fight on such a short notice. He didn't have a full camp like how he had against Justin Gaethje. So a full camp Holloway at 155 is a scary MFer, man. And I agree. I think Holloway and Topuria does numbers right now, but people want to see Max at 155. And you see what the UFC did. The UFC already ranked him at 55. He's not. I believe Max Holloway will stay at 55, and I like that matchup for him. Great matchup.
that's such a mega fight because you have someone like Islam who's such a star who beat Volk twice, who knocked him out in his last fight. Now is fighting Dustin Poirier on Dustin's probably last time at the title shot. Barring anything that happens with that fight this June, I think this is a mega fight for not only the UFC, not for Max Holloway, but ultimately for Islam as well to get some massive, massive pay-per-view points. I think that's the fight to make. I think that's the biggest fight. Yes. Does Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway do incredible numbers? Yes. But personally, the biggest fight is Islam versus Max.
I agree. Now it's time to go to the last fight of the matchmaking series, and it is Alex Pereira. Holy crap. What a main event UFC 300 was. Let's be honest. Everyone was talking so much crap on the main event, but what were you guys doing on Saturday? Watching it. And being there in person was something insane. You know how Alex does that bow thing right there? I don't care what you say, Jamal was ready to fight. He was willing to fight in there. He took that bow and snapped it on his leg and said, "Come here." And there is a video of Jamal standing right where the fighter walks in, but security said, "Hey, you gotta move, you gotta move." He's like, "No, I want to meet Alex right here whenever he walks up." So, holy crap was that fight. But what's next for Alex Poatan Pereira is the Magomed Ankalaev fight. I like that fight a lot. They have never fought each other. Magomed looked incredible in his the kickoff the 2024 fight night against Johnny Walker. That's the fight to make. And it makes sense because you can't give it to Yuri. Yuri just fought back in November and lost to Alex. Yes, he had a good win, but still, Magomed's next.
This is a really difficult fight and a difficult position for Alex Pereira because the 205 division isn't that deep. You got Jan Blachowicz, who's lost. You got Magomed Ankalaev, who's actually coming on as a star, but had the draw to Jan Blachowicz. You got Yuri Prochazka, amazing knockout against Alexander Rakic, but just lost to Alex Pereira in November. So it's a really hard time. And if I'm going to say it, I know a lot of people want to say it, I'm not opposed to the Tom Aspinall fight. I'm not opposed at all.
But Dana said in the interview that it doesn't. Why would
I know.
Pierre move up?
It doesn't make sense. But as a fan, you cannot tell me you do not want to watch Tom Aspinall, probably one of the most athletic, most powerful, most well-rounded heavyweights, go against Alex Pereira, who wouldn't even be undersized at heavyweight. This man went into the octagon on Saturday night at 235. 235. That's a pretty average heavyweight. That's Stipe's weight. So as a fan, I really want that fight to happen. I don't know if it'll happen. Dana White already said no. It doesn't make sense. Truthfully, yes, it doesn't really make sense. But as a fan, that fight would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, any fight is phenomenal. If you saw Oliveira go up to fight freaking Leon Edwards at 170, it'd be a great fight.
And the Ankalaev fight is a very interesting fight too, because you got two people who are willing to stand. Although Ankalaev is a wrestler, he has great ground game. He's going to sit there and trade. He sat there and traded with Johnny Walker. He sat there and traded with the Polish power, Jan Blachowicz, and he will trade with Alex Pereira. So that is probably the next fight to make. I don't know what other fight you really could make at 205. Let Pereira win this fight. Let him bask in the sun. Let him relax. Let him take some time and do it at the end of the year. Do it at the end of the year.
I don't know about the end of the year, but sometime soon, you got to make the fight. Alex took no damage. Magomed took no damage in the Johnny Walker fight. Both guys are healthy. Make the fight, Dana.
That's going to do it from this video. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought about our predictions for these next fights that are coming up and the three biggest fights that have to happen after UFC 300. And like always, like, comment, and subscribe at The Burn Factory Show. We'll see y'all for the next video. Peace.